Welcome, everyone, to a BTN Chat. I'm Andy Katz. Pleased to be joined by the Hall of Famer from Michigan State, head coach Tom Izzo. And Tom, let's start with Michigan State's decision to go virtual here in the fall semester. You've got a dual role here because you're also a parent of a student. So your son, Stephen, who's on the team, would have been one of those students that would have been on campus. So now he'll be at home like everyone else or not in class. And so from a parent perspective and a coach perspective, how will that affect your son and your players?
Well, like you and I were talking, you got a daughter going to college, there's colleges for a lot of things. The education, of course, is great, but there's a book education, there's a social education. And I feel bad for these kids, like sophomore year, freshman year, those are big years. Your junior, senior, big man on campus, you probably move off, you don't meet as many people. Those first 2 years are really special, I think. And I feel bad, but, everybody's going through it, Andy. And I looked at it and I said, we are allowed, we have some apartments on campus, so that's where our players are. The dorms we won't be able to be in. There'll be very few classes you can go to, if any. But everything will be virtual. And, we did that a little bit in the spring. At least we're used to it. We did a little bit in the summer. I think it'll create our own bubble, if you want to look at it that way. There won't be many people around. But the problem is, I heard Nick Saban say it, and I agree with him 100%. We can create any kind of bubble, basketball-wise or athletic-wise. It's that personal bubble. When they leave basketball, that's going to be important. And I think we got to put a little pressure on these kids and quit saying kids will be kids. And, they're only 20. Well, if they want to play basketball, if they want to play football, if they want to go to college and academically, I look at it like I got an assistant that was in the military, Doug Wojcik. He was at Navy when David Robinson. And when he was done, he went to 6 weeks or 6 months of sea duty. That's a sacrifice, It's like the word sacrifice or accountability has been taken out of the Webster dictionary. Maybe this will help put it back in.
Yeah, we've seen it across the country in various institutions where, and I don't want to put this only at the feet of students, but, there have been obviously students that are partying in large numbers, and it's forcing, super spreaders and clusters on these campuses and making decisions to go virtual. So, yeah, there's a lot of accountability and responsibility, but it's a short-term play if they can just, for lack of a better term, behave and check the partying for at least, this fall semester, then hopefully we'll be in a better place. I do worry about the mental health aspect here. Yeah. There's been so much thrown at these student athletes over the last 6-7 months. And now here's another curveball where now you may have more isolation. Maybe you thought you're going to have your peers back, and now you're back to being sort of just in a small group. How concerned are you about that?
I am concerned about that. And I think that's where my assistants, we've spent a lot of time with our guys this summer, and not just on the court. Talking to them, making them understand that, this is part of life. If you can get through this, you will be stronger, and this kind of separates people. I've enjoyed watching the NBA in the bubble, because I didn't think they could get 25-year-olds with $100 million to semi-behave themselves and not, go out and do this and do that. And it's worked pretty good. It's just the discipline. And, we say all the time that an athlete, a student athlete's got to be different than the regular students in some ways. And now I think we all got to be there. I watched on Alabama's campus, as I said, when I saw Nick and Saban and his AD go after some of those students, and I think that it's time for students to realize, so, this is not going to make me popular on my campus, but there is a right and a wrong, and what's right, I'm not going to get into the political mask, no mask, to me, you got to wear a mask, and that's what you do. And wow, big sacrifice, wear a mask, if that's a big sacrifice in life, we're in trouble.
So let's shift to the game. You've had workouts with this group. What's that been like to, wear a mask and coach these guys, at least for now, in some small groups?
Been good for me because they never know whether I'm angry or happy. It's kind of a good deal.
Be the eyes.
But, it hasn't been that bad. Now, we haven't gone in large groups. We've had groups of 5 or 6 in a weight room, 5 or 6 on the court. We played a little 3-on-3, but mostly individual work. We didn't go 5-on-5. But to me, it really went pretty well. I mean, I was impressed with our guys. I was impressed with the protocol of our university. Our trainers were unbelievable. And, we got the job done. There's adapt and overcome, as they say in the military. We had to adapt and overcome the obstacles. And we went COVID-free for the summer, for the 6 weeks we were there. Now we let them go home for a week or two because depending what happens, we could be in for a long haul here if we play over Christmas and things like that. So I wanted to get them home. We'll see if they come back, like some have done, because I think a lot of those schools that are seeing these spikes, it's not because they're at school, it's they brought it to school. So it'll be interesting to see how that works.
So in terms of the early entry, it kind of went the way we thought it might go. I mean, Xavier Tillman, obviously, he's got a great shot to be in the first round. He's got a family, which is not the norm for players that are looking at maybe entering the draft. And then Aaron Henry decided to come back. What was your initial raw reaction to those two decisions?
Well, it was really interesting because early on, I thought Aaron might come back, but then he started getting a little bit of traction. And then early on, I thought Xavier was definitely coming back. And then he started getting a lot of traction and went back and forth. The hard part about this is the NBA wasn't focused on the draft during this time. They were focused on the bubble. So that made it real hard for these players, if you ask me. And I felt for him on that. But I really thought that Xavier handled it as well as he could handle it. It was a tough decision, and now you hope it's the right decision. I think Aaron, in this pandemic, not a good time to be taking a chance. And without the ability to go to Chicago and kind of either show what you can do in the combine or show what you can't do in the combine, and then you kind of know yourself, hey, I'm maybe not quite ready compared to the other guys in the draft. Because they couldn't do that, that made it very difficult on these players. And I think both of them, I'm pulling for both of them. Pulling for Aaron to help us win games. I'm pulling for Xavier because I love the kid.
So your guys are going to be loaded on the wings. I mean, really deep. And you may not play the same way in terms of you may not have that physical presence as much as you have had in the past. So the two big questions, obviously, new point guard without Cassius Winston, and then where you're going to get the beef, if you will. It is way early, but what have you seen in those summer workouts about answering potentially those two questions?
Well, number one, in the inside, Marcus Bingham, who did start, he's not the beef, but he is 7 foot with a 7'4" wingspan. And he started like 15 games for us, and he has improved a lot this summer. I'm still trying to have him gain weight. So I try to put him on the Katz Izzo diet, and it isn't working right now, but he is gaining some weight and some strength. And then, I've got a couple other guys in there, and Marty Sissoko, our recruit that's come in, is 6'8" or 9", got a long wingspan, is up to 230. He brings some beef. And Julius Marble, I think a kid that we played some last year, is going to help us. You're right about the perimeter. I think there's a couple of things. Rocket Watts, I can play him at the 2. I might be able to play him at the 1 some. And in all honesty, Foster Lawyer's had a great summer. AJ Hogarth, I mean, we got enough bodies. And then, with Aaron Henry hopefully stepping up into that role of doing everything. And right now, as I talk to you, Josh Langford is practicing and doing really well, and that would be another added guy. And yet it'll give us a chance to go maybe real small ball, where we could. Joey Hauser is the kid who sat out last year, and he's, to me, is the real deal. He can really shoot it. He's just an all-around player. He can pass it. He can defend it. He can handle it. I expect him to have a big year. And then, Malik Hall, who started some games. So we got bodies there. We just got to get everybody. We'll probably play different. I think we'll play even faster. I think we might press a little bit or pressure. I'm not a press guy, but I mean, pick people up full go. Trying to wear us down, wear them down. I love my team as far as that goes. I think I got a fun team to coach.
Yeah, Hall had that great game against Seton Hall. I think he was 7 for 7.
Yeah.
That game. Look, I didn't want to put any pressure on Joshua Langford. because obviously that would be gravy if he could come back.
Yes.
You know, we talked about this obviously now season when he had re-injuring the foot. I mean, since you brought it up, I mean, how optimistic are you that at some point in 2021 he could be on the court?
See, Andy, that's the difference between me and you. You go to gravy, which is kind of a food thing. I go to frosting on a cake.
Really like gravy. So it's a little bit of a word. Bad word.
I'm going for the bad thing, frosting on the cake. But no, you're right, Andy. It's really Josh. You know him. You spent time with him. Unbelievable kid. Unbelievable student. He's already graduated. If anybody deserves to be able to come back and play, and do I think we could get 20 minutes or more out of him? The way he is now, he's way ahead of where he was last year. Different surgery. It happened earlier on. I do think what he's done this year, last year he kind of went up, then had a couple bad, maybe a week, then went up. And, this year, maybe he plateaued, but he never had a down time. And so he's almost starting to go now where he plays 2-on-2 and that. I think by the time school starts, we're going to be able to see if Josh can go. And I think, knock on wood, that I think he'll be able to do it. And he gives us some experience. And like a Gary Harris, he's a two-way player, I'd have Aaron Henry, and I forgot Gabe Brown has had maybe as good a summer as anybody. He could play the 3, he could play the 4. Malik Hall could play the 3 or 4. So I've got some interchangeable parts. And my best teams early on, I had a lot of guys that could play different positions. We should be able to switch more defensively and have some fun.
Look, I feel, Tom, like we say this every year in the last few seasons, but this league just keeps getting better and better. And the draft was a huge boost for the league with Luka Garza coming back, Ayo Dosunmu and Kofi Coburn. Obviously for you, Aaron Henry, Marcus Carr from Minnesota. What Rutgers has coming back. Wisconsin returns everybody. Isaiah Livers to Michigan. Indiana, should be really strong. The depth yet again. We were looking at 11, I thought, last March, and I wouldn't be shocked if we saw something similar to that again. As the dean of the Big Ten, what are your thoughts on the league?
Well, you said really good. That's really good for you because you're on the media side. It's not good because we didn't even we mentioned Luka, but Iowa's going to be really good. I think Ohio State will still be good. And when is Maryland going to be bad? They lost some people, but he does a great job. I think Northwestern is going to be
everyone back. I wouldn't sleep on Purdue.
Purdue is always good. As long as Painter's there, they're going to be good. So, it's just a lot of good teams, a lot of really good coaches. I mean, I've been in this league 36 years, and I've seen, early on we had so many great coaches, the Knights and Heathcotes and Katie's and Clem Haskins and guys like that. And then, we've had some, but now we're getting some stability again. And I think we've got as good a coaches as there is in the country. And you're right. A lot of guys came back, I guess the old me would have wished they left. But the new me now where I'm saying, the conference, the depth of it. I mean, I'm a Michigan State guy, but I'm a Big Ten guy too. And I just love that our conference has been put in the position the last 4 or 5 years where we've got real depth in our league. And so you look some of the preseason things, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, real high. I mean, we're up there decently. I think, and you forget about Penn State. You might as well name them all because last year I thought Fred Hoiberg did a great job with not very good players. And now I think he's starting to bring his own people in. He's a hell of a coach, man. And he's going to do a great job there. So
let's put them all in.
I think I should go back to Northern Michigan. I can win there.
All right, to that point, I just want to end with the scheduling aspect because that's the unknown. One of the things out there is to play 26 Big Ten games if there is no non-conference. And, we can't lose the month of December because more than likely there's going to be no NBA at that time, no NHL, probably no bowl games, and, maybe just the NFL. So those windows are there for the taking for college basketball. So whether it's non-conference or conference, What are your thoughts on either one of those? And if it is just conference, the prospect of potentially a 1 year where we play 26 games?
Well, if we do play in December, either way, 26 games. I remember when it was 16 and it went to 18 and I said they added 4 more games. That was my UP math. It was only 2, but conference games are tough. But I also think if we play in December and play some non-conference, one of the issues is you got to play people that are testing like you're testing. So that means we're going to be playing the ACC or I don't know if smaller conferences have the money to do that. It depends if the saliva test works and all that. But if we just go to a conference schedule end of December and January, I'm ready for that. I just like to play 25, 26 games to 30, I hope we're not playing 15 games. I don't think we're gonna. I'm not even thinking about it. I think we do have a bubble from Thanksgiving on. Every Big Ten team is done in Thanksgiving. Doesn't start again until the 6th. I think Indiana starts the 7th of February. So there's built-in semi-bubbles on campus. And then the other question that you and I talked about is, would you play some bubble games like, maybe the second week in December, get 4 teams to go somewhere and play a round robin or play everybody, and try to get 4 games done in a shorter period of time if everybody's quarantined and tested. I think we got a long way to go, Andy. I really think that this thing has changed so much weekly and depend on vaccines, depend on the testing process, depend on whether kids grow up a little bit, mature a little bit, sacrifice a little bit, because we can get this done. Football, I still think we need football to come back. I hope they do. But we got 12, 13 guys, it's more manageable, and hopefully we've learned from some things. I know that I'm on every committee and I'm listening to coaches all over the country and the Big Ten. I have a lot of faith in Danny Gavitt at the NCAA office. He's been awesome in our conversations, and I believe we got all the people working in the right way. Now, there's still a possibility, we can't control the virus, but I think if we do, we can manage it.
And I will tell you, and people can remember me saying this, we will have a tournament.
Oh, yeah.
If we have to have it in August, we will have a tournament. If we have to bubble it, we will have a tournament. So it'll get done.
You know what? I agree with you 100%, Andy. And I don't think it'll be August. I know.
Just be,
Yeah, I know. I don't think it'll be pushed back that much. I think we will have a tournament. I think we are going to have a great season. I'm looking forward to it. That's what I'm thinking right now. So that's the mentality around here. I think in not only the Big Ten, but I'm on a committee with the ACC people, the SEC, the Big 12. The Big East. Jay Wright's on there, and we're all ready to go. But we will never sacrifice. People can talk about money and that. The health of our coaches, our trainers, our people, and definitely our student athletes is never going to be jeopardized. I just think that sometimes life's a chance. What you do is you look for the best odds. And I don't think we'll do anything until the odds are very good. And if they are, we're going. And you're going to be busy. I'm going to be busy. You're going to be enjoying it. I'm going to be sweating my tail off because there's too many damn good teams in the Big Ten.
Tom, I appreciate it. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll be talking about basketball very soon.
Well, I do too, Andy, and good luck to your daughter. Hope things work out at Northwestern. You got her at Northwestern. You're a Wisconsin guy. Well, you got a lot of good things going for you athletically this year, so you'll be smiling like you are now all year, I bet.
We just got to keep everything going forward.
There you go.